Howdy! On this video, I'm going to be solving the first question of homework number 4. The first thing that we need to do is to read the question in order for us to know what we need to do. So we know that we need to have a header, and we are going to write a function that calculates the factorial of a number. And you can use anything that you want with the exception of the built-in Python factorial function. And then there are some instructions of how you need to save the file, which is last name, first name, my factorial.py. And then we have an example of how we should print our information. So then you look at the left side of my screen, I have a very small header, and then I have some space for my function and one space for my main. And I'm going to start coding. So the first thing I'm going to do is to define my function. So def my factorial, open close parentheses and colon. And then we need a parameter, which for me I'm going to call it num. And the factorial here, there is a factorial calculator online, and then if n equals 5, the answer is 120. So this is that I'm going to be using to check that I'm correct, and then I can try other numbers. Um, but I'm going to start. So over here in my function, we're going to have the parameter, which is a number that the user provides, and I'm going to have I'm going to need a variable to keep hold of the output. Let's call it output. Output equals 0, and then I'm going to start my for loop. So for I in range, and instead of starting from 0, this time I need to start from 1. So from 1 to num, because you start from 0, the answer is going to be 0 when multiplying, because I'm going to be multiplying 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 and so on, until we reach the number, the stopping point. Okay, so then over here we're going to have a temporary file, a temporary variable, and this is going to be equal to, well, actually output, we can make output to start from 1, and then we can say that output equals to output times I, and then outside, if I'm correct, well, we know that I'm going to be returning output, but let me print output just to make sure that I'm correct. And in my main, I need to call my function, my factorial of 5. Let me run the code, and I get 24. So okay, so I had something wrong. So there's something wrong in my logic. So let's say this 1 times 1 equals to 1. Then it's going to be 1 times 2 equals to 2. 1 times 3, 6, 5, 25, plus 1. Oh, there. So it was stopping one number before reaching the 5. And we can check that by using a print statement inside the for loop. So here I'm going to be printing output. So output equals to this, format output. And then we can see that in the first iteration output equals to 1, then 2, then 6, then 24, then 120. So then the loop stops, then I return output. And then over here in my main, I'm calling the function, and then I'm returning the 120, which is the output, but I'm not doing anything with the output. So for now, I know that my function is working. Oh, let's try another number. So what is the factorial of 15? Well, that's a very big number. Let's go with 7. Okay, 50, 40. So now instead of entering 5, I'm going to enter 7. I'm going to run my code, and we can see what happened here. It goes from 1 to 6, 24, 120, 720, and then 50, 40. That is the answer. So then I return that. So cool. We know that it is working. So now I'm going to comment my print statements that are inside my function because I do not need them. But over here in my main is where I need to create two more print statements and to create the output as the image provided in the Huangword instructions. So we have print, and it says, tell me the number you want to calculate its factorial. And that is one. But this is the input. So instead of print, I'm going to say x equals in and input, and I'm missing the closing parentheses. Right, because right there we are asking the user to provide the number that you want to get the factorial of. So we know that it is a number. So first, because we're going to ask something from the user, we need to use the input function. And then, because we know we are expecting a number, we are going to whatever we get from the user, we are going to convert that into a integer. And okay, so we have the input, right? So then over here is where I'm going to output my answer. So now I'm going to use a print statement, and the message is my DIY factorial is equal to something, and that something into the format. And what is that something? So I need to call my function, and I'm going to just cut this like 16. I'm going to put it inside over here. So my factorial, and now instead of having a hard-coded number, we need to use the number that we get from the user. In my case, I'm going to put x, because x, the variable x, is where I am saving whatever I get from the user, right? So I ask the user, tell me the number that you want to calculate its factorial. Again, I'm going to get a number from the user, which is going to be saved in the variable x. And then over here, I'm going to call my function, my factorial, and I'm going to send the x. And x can be anything that the user wants. And then, as you can see, whatever you send to in the parameter, this, for example, the variable does not have to be the name the same as the one that you have over here. Over here is x, and x has the value of an integer. It can be 5, 7, 100. But then over here in the function, I'm using the variable named num. So when this starts running, num is going to have the value of x. Remember that the name of the variable does not matter. Okay, so then I'm going to run the code. So tell me the number that you want to calculate is factorial, and well, let me enter 5. And then we had the message that the factorial of 5 is 120, which as I had in the beginning, using the online factorial calculator, the factorial of 5 is 120. And then going back to the 7, which is 50, 40, I'm going to roll my code again. So I'm going to enter 7, and the answer is 50, 40. And that is pretty much it to answer the first question. This is only one way of solving it. There are other ways of completing this assignment. But I hope this is helpful for you to learn one of the methods that can be used to solve this question. As well as you can see that I have a bug, right? My first idea how to do it was a little bit wrong, right? And I did not freak out because it was wrong. Oh, I don't believe so, right? But I used the print statement to see what was going on inside my loop. And then I was able to solve it. And also something important of how I was able to solve my bug is that I knew the expected answer. So I knew that the expected answer, that the result of factorial of 5 is 120. But when I run my code, I got 24, which is not the answer. Um, so I hope you can use this method to fix your code whenever you create a code that does not go as you were expecting it.